It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week, and the documents that we will be releasing later this week that point to the undeniable fact that you laid out in your introduction to this segment, is that the intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. Same assessment.
Barack Obama thought he could just walk back into the spotlight with his fancy speeches and cool vibe. But then Tulsi Gabbard and Vance showed up like superheroes crashing a party. What happened next wasn't just boring politics. It was like a big, exciting showdown. Picture two underdogs with sharp words and honest facts tearing down Obama's big reputation, piece by piece, until it was just a pile of dust and shock faces. This wasn't a regular talk. It was a super cool takedown nobody expected. Okay, imagine this. A huge political fight nobody asked for, but everyone secretly wanted to see. Two surprising people, Tulsi Gabbard, the calm but tough lady from Hawaii, and Vance, the guy from small towns with a sneaky grin that says, "I know what you did last election," stepped up to challenge Barack Obama. This wasn't some nice TV debate with smiles and handshakes. Nope, it was like a wild car race where policies, promises, and fancy speeches got smashed. Obama's faced critics before, but nothing like this crazy duo.
We deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it would and could then be used for all of the actions that came after.
Picture the camera zooming in slow motion on Obama's smooth speeches. That famous calm smile. His charm turned up super high. The first black president who became a worldwide star. Everyone claps for him like he's perfect. He passed the Affordable Care Act to help people get health care. He helped fix the economy after 2008. He started plans to save the planet. His foreign policy got big awards. So many prizes and news channels cheering for him. Wow, right?
I'm going to tee it up with this soundbite from the vice president who gave an interview to the Gateway Pundit and said as follows, Stop 15.
Well, I think the only thing the far left really responds to is power. The thing that they're actually going to be responsive to is the recognition that there are consequences on the other side. If they get off scot-free, if they're never investigated, if they're never prosecuted when they violated the law, then they're just going to come back and do the exact same thing again. There are a few different ways, of course. So it's the big tech companies that were censoring conservatives. They've got to know it's not going to be allowed, and there are going to be consequences for it. Banks, the president is really preoccupied with this, and rightfully so. And of course, you've got to pay the lawfare back in kind. You've got to say to the homies and the Brennans of the world, of course, you got to follow the law. You can only prosecute people when they actually broke the law, but we know that a lot of people broke the law.
His list of achievements looks unbeatable. But what if that shiny image has some cracks nobody talks about? What if all that polish hides mistakes and tricky choices? Here come Tulsi and JD, ready with facts, strong feelings, and perfect timing like in a movie. They're about to shake things up.
Integrity of our democratic republic, of our elections, is of paramount importance to the American people. Knowing what had occurred previously, the things, this Russia hoax thing that was called a conspiracy, I wanted to get to the bottom of the truth of what actually happened here. This is obviously important to President Trump, but it, again, is an issue of importance to every single American in this country and the future of our country as a republic. So shortly after coming into this position as Director of National Intelligence, I formed a special team to investigate this issue. I got to tell you, it wasn't easy. There were a lot of deep state obstacles that exist still within the intelligence community.
Tulsi starts with a serious stare that could make anyone nervous. She's all about foreign policy. She's been in Congress, served in the military, and knows what's real. She doesn't just talk, she throws facts like darts. She talks about Obama's choices in places like Libya and Syria and his drone strikes. Suddenly, those choices don't look so great. They seem like a video game where people and consequences get ignored. His plans to spread democracy? Tulsi says they caused problems and weren't consistent. He talked about peace and ending wars, but his actions were different. Think bombs and secret missions. She says it calmly, no drama needed. Her words cut through the hype. She points out Obama saying one thing but doing another. Then she switches to talk about home issues. Big companies got money from bailouts, but regular families wondered if the economy even noticed them. She's got facts ready like puzzle pieces, showing how Obama's heroic plans sometimes help the rich more than regular people. Tulsi's critique is fair, not mean. She's just pointing out what's wrong.
He actually had thoughts in his head, and what a contrast that is to Kamala Harris, who just repeats slogan after slogan after slogan. I got to be honest with you, I am offended, not as a person running to be your vice president, but as a fellow citizen. I am offended that a person who is so substanceless as Kamala Harris dares to think that she could be the president of the United States. It is a disgrace.
There's no yelling or name-calling, just a steady focus on what doesn't add up. It's like she's carefully moving cards in a card tower, knowing which one will make it all fall. And just when things get intense, Vance walks in with a small-town grin that says, "Think this was gonna be easy?" While Tulsi talks about the world, JD focuses on life at home. Forget fancy speeches or big city charm. He tells stories about towns Obama promised to help, where families felt forgotten and factories closed while speeches sounded great. The difference is awesome. Obama's shiny reputation meets real-life struggles. Economic promises start looking like stage magic instead of real help. It's like the chessboard gets flipped during a game, pieces flying everywhere, and everyone's watching. Tulsi shows where Obama's plans didn't make sense morally, and JD shows how they didn't match what regular people went through. Obama's perfect image, built for years, starts looking like a cracked toy under bright lights.
The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American, because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic.
But they don't just criticize, they make it fun. There's a cool rhythm to it, like a joke that lands just right. Tulsi's dry, serious humor mixes with JD's small-town sarcasm, making it funny, but also a bit awkward. You can't help but listen. It's like someone pointing out every mistake in your favorite movie, but doing it so well you're laughing even as you're surprised. They don't need loud music or memes. Their bold words, real examples, and smart reasoning are entertaining enough. The magic is in how they time it, how they say it, and those little grins that say, "We see what you're doing, and here's the truth you can't hide." Obama's charm meets their honest critiques and real stories in a way that feels real, raw, and kinda fun. And the best part? Tulsi and JD keep it light with sly humor, poking at mistakes with funny jabs that hit like a 1-2 punch in a comedy show.
The point I want to make is, I got to say, and shocker, newsflash here, I've defended Kamala Harris once, I'm about to defend Barack Obama once. So set to the side the hectoring and the tone of Obama when he went in and talking about black voters, like whatever. Obviously, I just criticized that. You know what I was watching him talk? You know what I thought to myself is, agree or disagree, and obviously I disagreed with about 99% of what he did when he was in office. He had substance, and Kamala Harris does not.
By the time they're done, the audience isn't just learning stuff. They're entertained, shocked, and secretly rooting for this unexpected team that dared to challenge a former president with style and facts. In the end, this wasn't just criticism. It was a story, a big moment, a showdown that felt like it had to happen. Tulsi, with her clear moral stance and anti-war views, set it up. JD, with his small-town grit and real-life stories, sealed the deal. Together, they showed one thing clearly. Even the shiniest reputations have flaws, and sometimes it takes a surprising duo to point them out with style, wit, and a bit of humor. JD doesn't waste time being polite. He talks about families struggling while news headlines cheer for stock markets that only make sense to rich people or celebrities. Big ideas like globalization and new tech? JD tells stories that make them feel like empty promises, pointing out the irony with a comedian's timing but never acting smug. He's real storytelling and doesn't let up. The economy is where JD shines.
The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact. The implications of this are far-reaching. Have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Everyone talks about how Obama's time fixed banks and markets, but what about the people who didn't get helped? JD tells it straight. A family steel factory closes. Young people leave their towns for jobs that seem impossible to get. Towns get smaller, while fancy experts talk about economic growth like it's a big party everyone's at. The difference is tough. Obama's big speeches about fixing the economy don't match towns where Main Street feels empty. JD doesn't just list problems. He tells stories that make them real. He describes diners where the coffee's cold, people are worried, and kids dream of leaving just to get by. Then he talks about culture, and he does it with a wink that hits hard. The gap isn't just about money. It's about how Obama's celebrity vibe feels so different from regular people's lives. His speeches try to inspire, but in some towns, they feel like words from a movie that's already over.
Support is not something I'm given or something I'm owed. It's something you got to go out there and work for. So one, I just don't like the tone of going in. I mean, look, the better question for Barack Obama or anybody to ask is not why black men. It's not how dare you not vote for Kamala Harris. It's maybe they're thinking about voting for Donald Trump because they're sick of being censored, they're sick of being told what to do, and they're sick of not being able to afford the American dream. Maybe that's why we're getting a lot more black voters than Republicans in the past. But
JD's style is part story, part sarcasm, part super sharp commentary. He points out mistakes with a storyteller's flow, mixing humor with frustration. 1 minute, he's talking about a diner owner who had to close because the green economy never came to their town. The next, he's showing how big policies forgot the people they were supposed to help. His sarcasm isn't mean, it's clear. He makes you laugh at how silly some big promises sound when they don't match real life, then feel serious when you see the stakes. It's as fun as it is upsetting. With Tulsi's earlier points about foreign policy mistakes, drone strikes, wars, and big plans gone wrong, JD's stories about home life make the critique even stronger. Tulsi took apart Obama's world plans with calm precision. JD grounds it in real-life struggles and cultural gaps. One challenges the world story, the other the American story. Obama's image can't handle both at once. The way they switch between topics is awesome. Tulsi's clear global critiques meet JD's real-world stories, making Obama's legacy feel like a movie falling apart.
And President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election. So this is the thing that I think people should pay attention to, is neither the message from President Obama's office, neither the statements coming from Democrats in Congress today and their friends in the propaganda media. None of them are addressing this fact that there was a shift, a 180-degree shift from the intelligence community's assessment leading up to the election to the one that President Obama directed be produced after Donald Trump won.
The story builds on its own. The audience sees Tulsi point out how Obama's words didn't match his actions in foreign policy. Then JD shows how his speeches didn't match real life at home. Together, they hit angles nobody usually talks about at the same time. Principles versus reality. World morals versus home struggles. Fancy stories versus regular people's lives. It's like watching a chess game get flipped, pieces flying, as everyone tries to figure out what Obama's legacy really is. Every mistake stands out. Every gap is clear. And Obama's perfect image starts to crack. People react like crazy. News folks try to explain it. Analysts tweet nervously. And social media goes wild with cheers, jokes, and arguments. Obama's had critics before, but never like this mix of moral power and real-life punches. The audience isn't just watching history. They're seeing a legacy picked apart from every side. And it's exciting, shocking, and kind of satisfying all at once.
Senator Vance, in Pittsburgh on Thursday, former President Barack Obama admonished black men for being hesitant about voting for Kamala Harris. I was wondering if you could contrast your approach to hesitant voters and how you tried to earn them over.
You know, first of all, I don't believe, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, whether you agree with Donald Trump or disagree with him, I don't believe in hectoring voters. I believe in persuasion.
Tulsi and JD don't just point out problems, they show patterns. Tulsi shows how policies can sound good, but do something else. JD shows how promises can sound big, but leave people with nothing. One uses ethics and principles. The other uses real stories and cultural know-how. Together, they're unstoppable. Their critiques work together like two sides of a prism, showing Obama's legacy in new ways. And even though they're tough, their humor keeps you hooked. Funny contrasts, sarcastic comments, and little exaggerations make it fun instead of preachy. By the time they're done, the audience is amazed. The mix of principles, real-life stories, and global and home critiques is something you don't see often in politics.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances.
That was Obama.
Nah, I'm just kidding. You know I've got to talk about Trump.
Obama was this brilliant lawyer. He was so smooth.
Though I am a little hurt that he's not here tonight. We had so much fun the last time.
He was so measured.
And it is surprising. You got a room full of reporters, celebrities, cameras, and he says no.
And the way he would talk about things was so statesmanlike.
Even with all this intensity, it doesn't feel heavy. Humor and irony run through every point. JD's sarcastic comments about small-town struggles mix with Tulsi's dry, moral points, and the timing is perfect. The audience laughs, feels a bit uncomfortable, nods, and sometimes cheers. By using wit and exaggeration, their message hits harder and feels relatable. It's not yelling, it's smart, sharp, and totally honest. The big takeaway? Tulsi and JD change how people think. They make you question stories that seemed perfect before, showing that even the most famous people have flaws. It's fun, smart, and feels real. And here's the tease. If this is just their first try, what happens when more people challenge Obama's shiny image with facts, humor, and tough questions? The audience leaves excited, curious, and maybe a little thrilled at how bold it all was. The real show isn't just the critiques, it's the storytelling, the teamwork, and the mix of smart analysis with real-life truth. As people think it over, one thing is clear. Obama's faced tough critics before, but nothing prepared him or the world for this epic, movie-like showdown.